another edition. I shouldn't say another edition. We have rebranded this show. We are working on a whole new platform, and I've got to get my my producer Jason to get it right. It's SuperStars, not SuperStar. We're going with RE Superstars. So we are going to call this show Real Talk with the RE Superstars, presented by RE Superstars. Have a whole bunch of new stuff coming out for you guys to talk about all this cool media we'll be doing with agents all over the place, from Philadelphia to South Jersey. And I might even be trying to get some of those big dogs. I feel like, I don't know what you guys think, but maybe after a while of doing these shows, I can hit up some of those guys on like the $1 million listings, like the Bravo guys, and have them on and see. But I feel like that wouldn't be as authentic. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Frederick or like Ryan or one of those guys, they have agents where they let me ask certain questions and blah, blah, blah. But we'll see how it goes. But I hope everyone's having a good day. I am sweating my cojones off. I had a wonderful experience this morning. I was just telling our guests, I went car shopping, and no offense to anyone in the business, I have family in the business. Ugh, what an emotional drain that is. Oh, my God. And you're fighting for pennies, literally. So I would prefer real estate and mortgage sales any day of the week over doing that. As I try and do with this show, I always have somewhat of a monologue. But you know what? I then it becomes BS. So I'm going to come on stage. I'm going to bring my guest on. I want to get going. I want to introduce everyone to him. Mr. Larry Levin. He is a legend in Philadelphia real estate. How are you today, sir?
Just great, sir. Not sure about that title, but I'm well.
You've been doing it a while. You've been doing it a while. How long have you been doing it?
15 years.
15 years. That's good. What's up, Bruno? Mr. Bruno, this guy. Tell you, Larry, some people have the life. This guy lives in Florida, I would say most of the time. But you must be hot out there, Bruno. You must be super hot. But so 15 years. So, Larry, usually how this show goes, and I've been telling everyone, I've been keeping them. They used to be like an hour long. We probably won't go that long. I've been trying a new format where I've been trying to get to the meat and potatoes like earlier on. And I think it's going to be more beneficial. So I want to start from the back and then, I should say the end of the show and come back. So 15 years, you're with Realty Mark. Who were you with before then? Give us the history in real estate.
It's a pretty short story. I've been with Realty Mark about 3 years. I was with Coldwell Banker Preferred for 12 years before that. And that's where I got my start, or where I should say I started out in sales. And before that, I was investing and then, other career stops prior to real estate along the way before that.
And I want to get there. I don't want to praise over that because I feel like that paints the picture of the man there. You're one of the most even-keeled realtors I've ever met. It's funny, like we haven't done many deals together, but I do remember one specific, and you just you just go with the flow. You're just very, very smooth, and that's important, man. It's important, don't you think?
For sure. It's definitely a business that can get the better of you emotionally. And as you mentioned in your monologue, things can get draining, and you've got to be available for a variety of people throughout the course of a day or a week. And if you're drained emotionally, you're not going to be at your best. And I've learned over the years to take much of what happens in a transaction with the proverbial grain of salt, and know that there's usually a partner or partners in the deal, whether they be the co-operating broker or the mortgage company or the title company, that want to get the deal done. Excuse me.
Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that sentence? Want to get the deal done. Okay. Let's make sure that everyone understands that. Our goal is to not to delay the process. We want to close too. Thank you, Larry. Sorry about that. It was an important message.
No. It's your show. Feel free to interrupt. So that's really it. And I've gotten caught up early on in my career, and sometimes still get caught up. So you got, I guess, the good side of me. It's never possible to be always 100% even keeled. Sometimes people or situations get the best of you, but I found that, taking a deep breath, taking a step back, assessing the situation before responding usually results in a better outcome, and so that I try to remind myself of that when I
What do you do? So
find
like
things escalating.
is there like a therapy? Like, do you have like a brown bag at home or like a rubber room, or like how do you get out your energy, man? Like there's got to be something. You are too calm for me, Larry. It's got to be something, man. Come on.
Maybe my secret weapon is hot yoga.
There you go. You do hot yoga?
Yeah,
You
I
know
try
what?
to do it three times a week. Yeah.
Now that's an interesting topic. See, I love having these. You always talk to me about hot yoga. So I know this sounds stupid, but you're not naked, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you're not naked, but hot yoga. Give me a. I've never been, so give me the rundown of what to expect in hot yoga.
Well, the technical details. The room is supposed to be 105 degrees and 40% humidity. You're wearing shorts. Some people wear a shirt. The women always do. The guys.
You can be shirtless. You can be shirtless.
Guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you do? What do you do?
I go shirtless.
Okay, Larry. All right.
Bare feet. And so the room's hot, and it's the traditional class is 90 minutes. It's the same 26 poses.
90 minutes?
Yeah.
90 minutes?
You can do a shorter class, but I prefer the 90-minute traditional class.
Does anyone pass out?
I've not seen anybody pass out, but it's a very forgiving setting. So you could sit down, take a break, you can drink water.
Wow.
As you see fit, and so you got to, the instructors remind you to take care of yourself, and you can do faster classes, but I find they're actually harder and less relaxing and less zen, so to speak. So I like the slow traditional class, and you think it might sound boring because it's the same poses every time, but in my experience, the body changes with each class, and with you go through points in your life or day or week where you got something out of place, and the class feels different from class to class. So for me, it never gets boring, and
wow.
And I try to get there three times a week.
That's cool. You know what though? It's some people don't have you had a legit answer. I like that, Larry. Not everyone has an actual outlet. Okay, 90 minutes, 105 degrees. Yep. Wow, that's cool though. I mean, so what's your record? What do you overall? Is it more mental? Like, what do you feel when you get out of there? Are you just totally relaxed? Like, what's the feeling?
Yeah, there's a degree of focus that I come out of it with. Certainly the body, the effects on my body are great. I feel strong. It's a total body workout. It's a lot of core work. It's a lot of flexibility, but it's because it's slow and paced, and the instructor is generally coaching you through it. There's sort of an element of meditative element to it.
Where do you do it? Where in the city?
So free plug for Hot Yoga Philadelphia at 1520 Sansom Street.
Okay.
They're I guess the originator of hot yoga in Philly, and they're great.
So tell me about. I want to get off of real estate for a bit. No, well, dude, it's interesting. I've never done hot yoga. You know what's funny? I feel like I'm in hot yoga half the time because I'm overweight in my car. But that's a different story. But what I like about your story is you're a true blue Center City guy, right? And how long have you lived? I always get intrigued by people like this because for a lot of people, including myself, it's transitory, it's temporary. You come in, you come out, you live there for a little bit, right? The most common thing is you graduate college, you go have fun, you work in the city, you have a couple kids, and you bounce out, right?
Right.
How long have you been living in Philadelphia? Like downtown?
So downtown, I'd say, I think it's 25, 26 years. I moved into town for my first job out of college, and I lived in Northeast Philly, grew up there all my life, and have been downtown various parts of Center City and South Philly for that period of time. So
tell me about 25 years is a long enough time to see the evolution. So give me, as a Philadelphia realtor, as a Philadelphia expert, culturally, every aspect. What did you see? What's the metamorphosis been for you? Where are you at now with it? Give me a whole changed over 25 years?
Sure. So when I first moved in, I worked at 15th and Chestnut. That was
And what'd you do?
I was at a nonprofit doing special event planning,
Okay.
and so I rented an apartment at 10th and Spruce, which was close enough to walk, and I think it was $675 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment,
Wow.
and I had a great time, but I didn't know the outer neighborhoods at that point in time. I mean, I knew the Italian market, I knew South Philly a little bit, going to ball games and stuff, but I wanted to be in Center City, so that's where I was. Um, and then I met a girl who became my wife later on, but she had a place in the art museum area, 2601. So we spent a good amount of time up there, and got to know the city a good bit better than I did up to that point. And but I had grown up, in my late teens, 20s, going out to nightclubs and bars and sat on
What
South
were your
Street.
spots? Give me your spots. Like, give me I might date you a little bit, but give me some.
Yeah, that's okay. I would say, nightclub wise, probably the Aztec Club, Shampoo, Bleachers,
Oh yeah, good old
Egypt,
city.
and then
Egypt.
live music spots like Dobbs and North Star Bar and
Yeah.
Khyber Pass. So, but yeah, then we moved in together, and we actually rented a house way down in South Philly at Front and Snyder, of all places. I guess I forget what the circumstances were, but it was a good house. At least, no, on the surface it was a good house. Underneath it was not, but maybe the cost or availability at the time led us all the way down there. And so we got to know that part of South Philly, and I guess started to see the stuff in between start to develop around East Passyunk and Bella Vista and Queen Village. But my wife or with my girlfriend at the time, ended up buying a place on her own that we moved into, and I was away for work, not in real estate. And she said that she bought a place. I'm like, oh great, where'd you buy? And she told me Bella Vista, and I had no idea where Bella Vista was in 1999. So she's like, yeah, it's near the Italian market, kind of Queen Village-y, whatever. I was like, okay, cool, great, can't wait to see it. So I got back from my work trip, and she bought a great house, and so then we got married, and we lived there together for about 5 years, and then sold it and bought where we're at now, which is just around the corner because we fell in love with Bella Vista. But when she bought that house, interestingly enough, there was still a Trinity across the street from her that had never been improved, and it had running water and plumbing, but it didn't have a sink in the bathroom. People that lived there had to do all their washing up at the kitchen sink, and I think we had bona fide mobsters still living on the block with us. There were definitely some characters that were in and out of that little street that we were on, and that's no longer the case around here. At least, and if it is, they keep a much lower profile.
And what have you seen from the neighborhood specifically? Have you seen a massive shift? I mean, development-wise, obviously, but in general, I mean, Bella Vista and Queen Village have always been.
Yeah, I wouldn't say massive shift. I'd just say, it's like more development around the edges. You see sites that used to be large restaurant buildings or large restaurant warehouse buildings getting redeveloped, and the churches, of course, across Bella Vista, Queen Village, and Graduate Hospital have come down and been redeveloped into apartments or condos. So, and Bella Vista was pretty well settled at that point, but so nothing substantial. I think, but I guess, the parking is a good barometer of development. When we first moved in 1999, it was like easy to park almost any time of day. And now where we live, when I bought my current house, I wasn't a real estate agent. I wasn't as attuned to parking and some of the factors associated with city living. And so we bought this place, and we've been here for 17 years, but I didn't buy it with parking. And so, if I had to do it all over again, I'd probably insist on a parking spot. But
Yeah.
those,
Yeah.
it's because it's gotten crazier as the years go by.
So what's kept you in the city? As a guy from Northeast Philly, and I'm sure you have lots of family and friends in the suburbs. Give me an argument for staying in the city. I think it's it's the opposite. So I want to hear. I'm curious to know your opinion.
Well, I mean, I've always been energized by city living. Being around people generally energizes me. Having interactions as potentially crazy as they can be is energizing, and having stuff at my doorstep. I mean, I like.
I miss that,
I,
man. I miss that.
I don't like driving. I don't like having to feel like I get in the car for every little convenience that I need. So, we're really well situated where we're at. Had we been in a different neighborhood, maybe it might be different, but we're so well situated here in Bella Vista with markets and shopping and conveniences and whatever. And, we were fortunate to be able to send our daughter to public school, a couple of good public schools. And, and even when it's become, with parking becoming a challenge, I've taken public transportation more than I ever have. And I find it very easy to get around that way too. And so, I just, I enjoy, having neighbors that I can interact with, and just sitting out on my step and people watching or interacting with, the random person here and there. And of course, you're going to have idiots like you do in any
Yeah, of course.
neighborhood, and the city maybe more so than others, but that's part of the color of the city and part of the character and part of what makes it interesting.
No, but it's funny, Larry. The reason I'm asking is because, and I know you get it. Like, we're both of similar cloth. The Northeast Philly Jewish, yada yada yada, right? And everyone says you're nuts for living in the city. You're crazy. It's nuts. It's this. It's that. So it's nice to hear a positive perspective for all aspects, including choosing to stay there, choosing to raise a child, utilizing the public schools. I mean, it gets a lot of bad press for people that don't know. And look, Larry, all the time when I lived, my parents, oh my God, where are we gonna park? Where are we gonna park? I gotta do. And when you live in the city, you don't care. You leave your car on Thursday and you don't see it till Monday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's refreshing. That's why, believe it or not, it's rare. There aren't, statistically, very, very low for people that make it all the way. Very rare. I don't know what the number is, but it can't be high.
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, I mean, we probably won't be here forever either. We like the Jersey Shore, and that's a great scene. And hopefully, I'll have an opportunity to end my career the way I want and go and do some other things elsewhere.
So, all right, let's get back into the meat and potatoes. So, have you always been solo in this business?
Yeah, I've never been on a team.
Never. Wow. So when you started, how'd you do it? What'd you do? Did you have any resources? Do you have any knowledge? What'd you do?
Well, so I started out as an investor. I got exposed to real estate through investing and accumulated a portfolio of homes. So
give us an idea of that. Can you give us a little, not everything you own, but what'd you get in? What'd you do?
So I had a portfolio of 18 single family homes throughout Point Breeze and Grace Ferry, and then a couple others sprinkled around Southwest Philly, Olney.
And when was that? Like, what time period was that?
Like 04, 05.
Wow. So you were way ahead.
Yeah. Probably too far ahead.
Wow.
I ended up, that was what fired me up about real estate, that experience of acquiring, renovating, and stabilizing those properties and getting the income stream going. And so I understood the transactional process, and I had a bit of a network of other investors. And
cool.
And I hated my immediate job at that point in time, doing consulting work, and just cranking out PowerPoints that nobody was going to read. So that spurred me to get my license, and I thought I would do a couple deals a year here and there for friends and family or whatever. But then the job that I had really started to wear on me. So I said, now I'm going to go full time. So that's what I did, and I ended up Coldwell Banker, and I had really fortunate experience there with great management at the time with great David Krieger and Sky Michaels, who was my mentor, and they just showed me the ropes, and I bootstrapped it, and we were fortunate that my wife was a teacher with the Philadelphia School District, and she had a solid income and benefits that were able to kind of cushion us for the ramp up that I needed to make in this business. And then about a year and a half in, we ended up selling the portfolio so that because I was a lousy property manager. It was distracting me from building this business. And so we sold them. And then I was really starting to see my business tick up. Onward from there.
So let's talk about that. Talk to me about the growth of your business. When you started to know what behaviors, what things were you doing? Were you consciously growing it? Was it happening by accident? What were you doing to grow your business?
Well, I was following the lead of some older agents there, which in retrospect probably wasn't the best advice because they were very much, emphasizing just build through your network and sphere of influence and whatever. And if I had to do it all over again, I probably would have started spending money on advertising and marketing a lot more early on in my career. But yeah, I was consciously interested in growing. I mean, my first deal, I made 30 grand. My first year in the business, I made 30 grand. So that wasn't going to be sustainable for myself, my wife, and the kids. So I had to grow. But fortunately, having been born and raised in Philly, and having come through a number of other career type jobs, I had a network of folks and that liked me and wanted to help me. So I was able to build a pretty substantial business through that effort. And then I sought out coaching and figured out ways and learned ways to expand from the sphere to people that, wouldn't otherwise have heard about me.
So you hit on 2 points. So coaching, talk to me about that. What was your experience? Do you recommend it to people? What's your overall take on it?
Recommend it. It's hard to say, everybody's different. I've seen people be successful without it. I felt like I was hitting the same level, a couple of years in a row. And I felt like I needed to figure out a way to break through that. And I needed some fresh eyes on my business. And so in that sense, it helped. And it did bring me into utilizing more advertising and marketing that I wouldn't have otherwise been aware of or thought of. So it was helpful and successful in that respect. What was the other part of the question?
No, that was it. It's funny because it's very common in our industry for people to recommend that, especially when you plateau. So I didn't know. I wanted your perspective on it as someone who had gone through it. What you did?
Yeah, I found it to be very helpful, and it took me a while to survey different styles of coaching, and coaches offer different approaches to the business. But I felt like, and then ultimately the one that I landed on was the right one.
Good. All right. Yeah. Cool. And then so advertising, that gets me. So this will segue into the brand. So the Live, Love Philly. And I remember seeing your signs when I first moved into Bella Vista. I moved into Bella Vista in 2013. And I remember seeing your signs that said sold or I'll buy it. Something along the lines of that, right?
Yeah.
Those were yours.
Yeah. Buy this home or I'll buy yours.
So yeah, and that was big for you because I know you were all over, but talk to me about advertising because it's something that people can't figure out, or it's difficult, it's expensive, they don't see the ROI. What'd you figure out with advertising? Give me a whole overview of that.
Well, it can be intimidating for sure. You have to understand what it is that you're trying to achieve with it. And there's branding, and which is more marketing, and then there's advertising for getting the phone to ring.
Right.
And so what do you want out of what you're spending your advertising or marketing dollars on? That's the first thing, is really understanding the objective. And you have to understand your audience. What audience are you trying to attract to you? You have to. So it takes quite a bit of market research. Takes quite a bit of market knowledge. You might think you want to advertise to only sell $1 million homes, but if only 10, at one point in Philadelphia's recent real estate trajectory, only $10 million, 1 million or plus dollar homes sold in a year.
Wow.
So
yeah,
are you going to be able to make a living by selling all 10 of those homes? So, or do you want to sell in, at the other end of the market? Do you want to work with investors and sell under $100,000 homes? So you have to understand what it is that you're after, and not just throw money at something because it's the shiniest new object.
Which most people do, right? I mean, let's be totally honest. Most people have no idea where to go, how to start. And I'm going to be honest with you, Larry. It's such an easy way to burn money. It's such an easy way to burn money. And people put themselves out on a limb and say, I only have a certain amount of money and I'm going to spend it all. And they spend it wrong and they're screwed.
They can be. Yeah. I mean, it's almost, I guess an analogy would be like playing the stock market. If you can't afford to lose it, maybe don't do it, or do it in a much more conservative way. But you also have to be prepared to test it. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able to be able to have maybe specific phone numbers that people are going to call, or specific landing pages that people are going to get to. So that if somebody hits that number or hits that page, it came from that specific ad. If you don't have that, and you don't know why people are calling you or from where, then you're really not, working it effectively and being able to assess it and evaluate whether it's working or not. Because if it is working, you want to run with it and push it as far as you can. But if it's not, you want to cut it off before you get too far into it, or too far down the rabbit hole money wise, and change direction and adjust it. And it could be a simple adjustment, like, maybe your message is wrong. You could have 2 or 3 words that are off. And I had this experience with one of the ad campaigns that I started running. One of them was hugely successful. One of them wasn't. And we changed things around, and we changed some colors in the ads. We changed the placement of where it was going to be. And we, sometimes the change worked, sometimes it didn't. But we're always evaluating, what was going on with it. And some we're still running, and some, we've let go.
And when you say did you self-teach yourself? Did you hire a marketing person? How'd you get into that?
No, well, so the coaching that I identified came with those ideas.
That's a really good coach.
Yeah, so it was like a marketing system in a box, and we just had to copy and paste and implement it into our marketplace.
That's phenomenal.
And test it. So yeah. So that was why I chose that coaching group for that reason.
That's super smart, man. That's super smart. I mean, believe it or not, you downplay it, but it's so hard. Like, figuring that out is so hard. I burned through money over the years on, I mean, I guess at this point you call it testing, but
that's all it was. If it wasn't successful, you tested it and found out what didn't work.
Yeah. I mean, I probably wasn't as, I didn't approach it as analytical as you did, and I probably should have, because it was more wasteful than it should have been. But, at least you have a science and you're approaching it in a calm way. It's just, I always look at it like the people, when they come to me that I work with, that are like, I need business, I'm in trouble and I need money, and you only have X amount in your hand. That's such a hard thing to figure out, and it's more common than you realize. It really is.
And you need, but it didn't mean that I also stopped doing what I was doing to tap into my sphere and my network too.
Right.
You've got to have sort of multiple plates spinning, at all points throughout, your career, unless and some people don't, and they have a big enough network, and, or this is a secondary business to them, or whatever. And that's fine. But for me, it's my everyday life. So I've got to optimize, each and every part of the business as much as I can.
That's pretty cool, though. I mean, it's cool because not everyone has that conscious approach towards it. I really believe that. I've seen that.
Isn't that true about life in general?
You know what? You know what, Larry? You make a good point. You make a good point. But it's just it's refreshing and it's interesting to hear your approach towards the whole thing. It really is. It's interesting because that's what differentiates you, I think, to a certain degree. Aside from the fact that you play, whether you are or you aren't, you're one of the coolest and calmest I've ever met. But in general, you're very headsy. There's a reason behind the things you're doing, and that's important.
I think I try to be intentional with everything that I do, especially with clients and people that I work with. And I hope that sets me apart if I'm up against another competitor for a listing or, for a buyer's business, that I've actually got a plan that's well thought out, that's being, assessed across, along the way, through the process.
Especially
I'm not winging it.
Especially if they got to you through one of your marketing campaigns, because you're like, that's how I got you. You know what I mean? It
shows that it works. Hopefully there's some proof in that for them to say, well, if I called this guy and based on what he put out into the marketplace, then other people may, and it should result in in good outcomes for me as a buyer or a seller. So I think that's
where are you at statistically with that? Have you gotten better at lead gen? Naturally, have you gotten or are you still heavy organic?
Still 75% of my business is sphere of influence and past clients and the net, my personal network. Some of the marketing stuff that we started out doing that was successful is no longer working. So we're doing different things. And, but I would love to, so what I've done is I've enhanced the work that I do towards my sphere of influence. Mm-hmm. I reach out to them and spend more time in front of them than I ever have. Mm-hmm. But I'm also working to continue to enhance the people that don't know me and have never met me. And it's both sides. And,
but you're also becoming a better marketer, Larry. That's the other thing.
For sure.
What I love about about this conversation is part of my show is figuring out how people are successful in what they do, right? And in reality, the fact that you live in Philadelphia and have lived in Philadelphia for so long makes you very different from an agent that comes in and says, I want to tackle, because everyone wants to tackle the city, right? No matter who you are, you're young, you're hungry, you get the city lights, the experience, the air, but not everyone's a real expert. They aren't. And I'm being honest, it's no bullshit. They really aren't experts at it. So that part was intriguing about you to me, because you're a lifelong Philadelphian and who's been there at different parts of your life. I'm not. I lived there for a short period and I left. So I'm like every other poser. I'm from Philly. I'm not from Philly. But in addition to that, and I knew this going in because I knew your brand. I knew your brand before I knew you, before I met you. And to me, where you're starting to become very different, Larry, is you're learning marketing. You're becoming a marketer. And that's the hardest thing. I've had businesses through my span, and it's funny, I equate it to a website. You can spend as much money as you can to build the most beautiful website, and if no one goes there, you've wasted every penny.
Yeah, well, my coach would be pleased to hear what you just said, because he emphasizes, and he's a highly successful was a highly successful real estate agent for many years. But he emphasizes all the time, you're not in the real estate business, you're in the marketing business.
So true.
And if you want to build a career out of it, if you want to build a business is sustainable, you have to get good at marketing. And I try at it every day and fail more than I succeed, but you have to keep at it.
And have you evolved with the times in terms of the mediums? Have you started more print and evolved in the digital and gotten better at it, like self-proclaimed, or?
The short answer is yes, but I think there's still a place for print.
Uh-huh.
I think that social media and digital stuff is maybe overemphasized still, because
Yeah.
the attention span factor is so short.
Yeah.
It's hard to be compelling, but there are different ways to capitalize on it if you're smart about it and you study it long enough. And I'm not going to portray myself as an expert in the least in that area. It's because it evolves so quickly, and
It does.
people's
Yeah, but
preferences.
at least you're open to learning.
Oh,
Like
for sure.
you're, but not everyone is. Not everyone is. It's not. There are a lot of people, especially agents, who would they just didn't want to they didn't want to jump on the bus.
Yeah.
They just didn't want to jump on the bus, and it hurts your business.
Well, at a minimum, you need to be, at least for me, I need to be as close to omnipresent as I can, and in close
So
to
true.
and in front of as many people as I can.
Yeah.
And and with various types of messaging, and
Yeah.
and one of the key things that I try to get across is how much how much we emphasize having a give back philosophy in our business, and it is not just about us, and it's not just about one transaction. It's about utilizing this platform to improve outcomes for our clients and also for the community at large. So
Yeah.
Project Home is a big deal for us, and we
you do Project Home. Okay. Will you tell people real fast, the people that aren't from Philly, what Project Home's about?
So Project Home is one of the nation's leading homeless services organizations, nonprofit. They rely on donations and sponsorships, but they help get people in Philadelphia off the street, get them into stabilized housing. They have educational programs, they have occupational programs, they have healthcare programs, and they've built I think close to 1,000 units of housing in the last 3 years. So they across the board, and they do a great job of they do a census of the homeless in the city. So really measuring what their outcomes are, what their efforts are resulting in terms of the number of people on the street at any given point in time, and the number of people that are coming off the street, and they have emergency facilities for people to get into, even just for a short term, to take a shower, use a bathroom, or just get air conditioning, like as we're coming into the summer months. So it's an amazing organization, and they. The home idea of aligned well with us, trying to find people homes that obviously can afford to legitimately buy or rent a home, but wanting to get all people properly housed is what we're after too.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. How long have you been working with them?
Probably 7 or 8 years, 6 or 7 years. Yeah,
that's great, man. And that's the other thing, like. An agent, and by definition, a real estate agent, you have to be involved in your community. Like when they always say you got to go deep, you have to go deep. Like, and it's true. Even Philadelphia, I come back to it. It's a neighborhood of cities. Everyone, where in Philly do you sell? Oh, I sell the whole city. Yeah, but if you want to succeed, you got to pick an area. You got to dive in a little bit, and that's important, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a generalist, so and having lived here all my life, I pretty much know every corner of the city. But for whatever reason,
but more of your business is
primarily South Philly, Philly.
Sure.
Bella Vista, Queen Village, East Passyunk, Graduate Hospital, Point Breeze. Further down, is for what that's become my center of gravity. Mm-hmm. But for sure, I mean, and. Somebody calls me tomorrow about wanting to see a home in Chestnut Hill. Sure, I'll be happy to help them, but I'm I'm going to take the time in between now and when the appointment is to refresh myself and make sure I'm caught up on everything. Because you have to go out there and be able to talk confidently. And even if a question gets thrown at you that you're not sure about, you have to be able to confidently say, I'm not sure.
Sure.
Because if you try to make stuff up in this business, people see right through it. And
you fall flat on your face. You fall flat on you really do. And whether it's in the beginning or in the middle or the end of the transaction, you're gonna get caught. Yeah. Someone's gonna figure it out. All right. So you mentioned wanting to end the way you want to end. What does that mean for you? How do you cap off this journey in real estate in Philadelphia?
Retired in age that I'm still able to do the things I want to do. Like, so I mentioned we love the Jersey Shore, and we have a place down there. And a couple summers ago, I just decided to take surfing lessons. So,
nice.
It's the most fun I've had being bad at anything, in my life. And so if I could, get good enough that maybe I could travel and do some, to some other surf spots throughout the course of the year. And, I love a good road trip. So, being on the road with my wife and the dog. My daughter is going to be in college soon, so it'll be just me, the wife, and the dog. So being able to do some lengthy road trips and just see stuff and probably work more in an investing capacity than day-to-day sales, is where
and talk about that. So investing capacity, are you still investing in Philly predominantly?
No. So when we sold the portfolio, I really got focused on building the book of business. So I did a one flip after that. And then most recently I did a 4-unit conversion in Point Breeze that we sold.
Oh, cool.
And then when the pandemic hit, it helped us reassess our goals and objectives. And so that's when we bought the place down the shore.
Nice.
But we bought it with the idea that it would be, an Airbnb. It was a duplex. We wanted, a place where we could use ourselves, but also have income. And so we bought a duplex, and we have now, it's pretty much it's steadily used as an Airbnb.
That's awesome.
And we'll use the 1 unit ourselves in the fall months, which are really nice and quiet down there. And so I've really gotten interested in the Airbnb business, and so pursuing that as an investing strategy is where I'm at now.
Very cool, man. That's awesome. And then, so as far as real estate goes, do you think you're on a steady? Are you going to make any bigger move, like aside from the Airbnb investment stuff? Are you going to have any other bigger jumps, or you're in cruise control in terms of the retail side?
I wouldn't say cruise control. I think only because the market shifts and demands that you shift along with it, or get left behind. And so, I guess I'm always having some sort of growth mindset. We've recently added a couple people to our team to assist with lead generation, and I'm mentoring now an outside sales agent who just got her license. So having more leverage and more bandwidth that way will help us, to grow. But I'm not looking to be the next biggest agent in town. Whoever that may be. I don't know if it's appropriate to mention names. Maybe
you can mention whoever you want. I don't care.
The usual suspects. I'm not coming after Mike McCann. I'm not coming after Noah Ostroff or Ori Fibush or any of those guys. So I kind of have a niche that I work, and I work well, and it expands, at an appropriate pace for myself. And, we look at things and opportunities to push further. So like we don't get left behind, but
sure.
But that's kind of the mindset that I have. It's I'm more of a, I think what I know about myself is, it's got to be it's sort of a tight circle, and I like doing deals. I like being belly to belly with people. So when I start getting into, management frame of mind, or, it just, it takes me away from what I enjoy doing, and then the business becomes a grind for me.
And that's true. Yeah, that's very, very true. All right. So I'll give you a couple more quick ones. Best place in Philadelphia now. Best place for first-time home buyers. What are you seeing? Where would you recommend them to go?
In Philly, best place for first-time home buyer?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, interestingly enough, I'm seeing pricing come down and soften in Point Breeze.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's opportunities there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still, while you're still close to Center City, and then as development there continues to happen, which it is, but for whatever reason, I think that neighborhood's gotten soft, and I think Germantown is seriously on the come. Believe it or not, outside of my South Philly, bread and butter. There's some signs there that I think are very positive.
And what about an investment wise? What would you advise?
I mean, Philadelphia is made for investors. I mean, because of the number of schools we have, we still have somewhat of a transient population along the lines what you alluded to earlier, where people stay for a couple of years and then they take off for whatever greener pastures they think they're going to. Mm-hmm. There's always such great rental demand. So, and especially, so Philadelphia is just made for investors almost across the board, and you can do so with pretty minimal risk, especially in neighborhoods, sort of around West Philly, on the edges of West Philly, the edge, Germantowns of the world, the edges of Kensington now, that are starting to turn, and also, the Airbnb market has become really popular, and although the city's starting to regulate it more heavily, and
yeah, I heard that. Good luck.
It's kind of problematic, but there's so I don't think that there's, I wouldn't say that there's a neighborhood that you can't invest in and make money if you identify the right situation. And sometimes some neighborhoods are more ripe for buy and hold, some are more ripe for flipping, but there's almost always rental demand.
It's good. That's good to know. I myself am always looking, so I was curious to know what you thought from an expert standpoint of view. So good. All right, now we're gonna have a little fun. You a foodie?
To an extent, yeah.
All right. So I mean, as a lifelong Philadelphian, I call you lifelong because 25 at this point. You're like.
Well, no, I mean I'm 53. I'll be 53 next month, and I was born and raised here, and I only left city for college and another short job out in New York. But yeah.
So I'm gonna give you some genres, and you tell me what's hot now or what's your favorite. All right. So okay. I'm gonna start with the hardest for you because you live so close. What's your favorite Italian spot? I mean, not just pizza, like Italian overall, pasta, gravy, whatever you want to call it.
I'm gonna give you two answers because one's more casual and one's more formal, but they're right in my backyard. And casual is Villa di Roma, and upscale is Dante and Luigi's. Yeah,
I mean, the best. I miss that so much, Larry. I moved to South Jersey. Oh my God, it's BS, man. All right, and honestly, I'm biased like you are. I think Bella Vista has the best food in the city, buddy. The best food in the city by far.
Yeah, it's easy to gain weight here. That's for sure.
I lived 4 doors down from Cucina Forte for God knows how long. So
yeah.
All right, so that's Italian. Pizza. Give me pizza.
Tacanelli's.
Okay. I love Angelo's. I think Angelo's. Do you do Angelo's near you, or is it too much of a riffraff?
It's just overrated, and I don't really like their crust.
Tacanelli's, I like. I love that. Do you like Lorenzo's?
Which one?
Like the big one on
the big
South.
Slice on South Street.
Yeah,
it's all right. I can't remember the last time I was there, but yeah, it's fine.
And what about
his cousin Lorenzo owns the Lorenzo's at 9th and Christian, and when we just want to get a standard pizza on a Friday night, that's our spot.
That's your spot. And then what about what's the place? The Square. It's Santucci's. That's right.
Santucci's is good. Yeah.
All right. So give me the cheesesteak. Do you do cheesesteaks?
Steve's Princess Steaks.
Yes, I agree. White American. What do you do?
Yes. Yeah.
Isn't that the best, man? No one knows that. For anyone watching this that's not from Philadelphia, the whiz is not as good. You just don't get it. The melted American is where it's at, man.
Absolutely.
But I'll tell you something, Larry. I like roast pork over cheesesteaks.
Oh, I would agree, and from that, I go to Nick's in the Reading.
Oh, it's the best. That's the best, man. So it's the best. And then, are you an Asian fusion guy? You in any of that new stuff?
I mean, there's a couple. We used to love going to Chew Noodle Bar that was on the street near Locust, but they closed, and now I haven't been to the one in Fishtown, but same owners I think have Bing Bing Dim Sum on Sunk Avenue, which is awesome. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The place around the corner from us called Kalaya.
Kalaya's great.
Really good.
Yeah.
And there's another place called called Sophie's Kitchen on Washington Avenue. That's really good. And then we do Vietnamese pho probably every couple weeks too. So that's
the best, man. Talking to you makes me miss it so much. It's just like when you talk, and you just have to walk outside. That's it. You just have to walk. Like, where do you want to go tonight? You want the best stuff? It's like right there. Oh man. Well, Larry, that was fun, man. It was good.
Indeed. Thanks for having me.
I told you I'd take you for the ride, right? Just let me shoot it.
No, you do a great job with this. I'm impressed and happy to be a part of it. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Well, I look forward to having you again on future shows. We're going to be doing repeat visits with guests on market updates and kind of checking in with what they've been doing. So you're always a welcome guest. If you want to buy in Philadelphia, but specifically Queen Village, Bella Vista, South Philadelphia, Point Breeze, Graduate Hospital, Larry is the man. He is the man with the plan. He's been down there. He knows better than anybody. And I'm telling you, he's no frills. And if you heard him talk, man, you're a smart dude, Larry. You're a smart dude. Like I'm being honest. You're a smart dude. I like that. I like the heady stuff. I look like a clown, but I'm not a clown.
No, you do pretty well in your own right, man.
But no, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much, Larry. And everyone out there, have a phenomenal weekend. We will see you again next time on the RE Superstar Show. Peace.
Happy Friday.